ना उसमें 9 and that represents like our body. So बोलते हैं अगर वो बांसुरी में ना बांसुरी हॉलो होनी चाहिए बोलते हैं म्यूजिक और विद दैट वी नो इवन वी डोंट हैव टू बी अ म्यूजिशियन टू नो दैट अगर उसमें कूड़ा कचरा भरा होगा बांसुरी में तो उसका उसका सुर निकलेगा कोई अच्छा नो. So if we are supposed to be the basuri, then who is playing the flute? Krishna is playing the flute. So when the basuri is totally empty, means you don't have all these selfish and dirt in your mind, whatever comes out is his music. That's the symbolism. So you want जो जब कृष्ण भगवान बांसुरी बजाते हैं सब सुध बुध खो देते हैं बिकॉज सो मीठा. सो बोलते हैं कि तुम अपनी बजाओगे बांसुरी बहुत बेसुरी होगी. So you become the instrument. That's what he's talking about over here. Of God.
Not only is it sufficient that we renounce thus all wrong actions, but we have also to make a few adjustments in our inner instruments in order to enable an unobstructed flow of the Creator's will through us. These are indicated here by the two terms, free from hope and free from ego.
Yeah, so we discussed that, yeah.
The superficial study of the stanza is sure to confuse the student and drive him to the dangerous conclusion that Hinduism preaches not a dynamic, conscious life, but an insentient existence through life in a spirit of cultivated hopelessness. But a closer study of the import of these two terms will make us understand clearly that in this stanza, Krishna is hinting at a great psychological truth of life.
So we already discussed that if you just take those words, just plain words, say, oh, hope भी नहीं रखो, past में क्या हुआ ये भी भूल जाओ तो फिर हम जिएंगे कैसे कोई सोचेगा. But that's not what he's talking about.
Free from hope. Hope is the expectation of a happening that is yet to manifest and mature in a future period of time. Whatever be the hope, it belongs not to the present. It refers to a period in future, not yet born. Free from ego. Our egocentric concept of ourselves is nothing but a bundle of happenings and achievements of ours which took place or were gained in the past moments. Ego is therefore the shadow of the past, and it has an existent reality only with reference to the dead moments of the past.
So Swami just is explaining, this thing about the past in his own words. Shadow of the past. Ego is like a shadow of the past, dead moments of the past.
If hope is thus the child of the unborn future, ego is the lingering memory of a dead past. To revel in ego and hope is an attempt on our part to live either with the dead moments of the past or with the unborn moments of the future. All the while, the tragedy is that we miss the present, the active, dynamic present, which is the only noble chance that is given to us to create, to advance, to achieve, and to enjoy. Krishna advises Arjuna to act renouncing both hope and ego. And this is indeed a primary instruction on how to pour the best that is in us into the present, blockading all unintelligent and thoughtless dissipation of our inner personality energies in the past and the future.
So we already hashed it out pretty detailed, all this, right?
The instruction is so exhaustive in vision and complete in its minutest details that the stanza under review should be a surprise even to the best of our modern psychologists. Even though the technique is so far advised, can and does avoid all wastage of energy among the funeral pyres of the dead moments and in the wombs of unborn time, yet there is the possibility that the man of action may waste his potentialities in the present. This generally comes about through our inborn nature to become unnecessarily over-anxious during our present activities. This feverish anxiety is indicated here by the term fever, jwar. Krishna advises Arjun to renounce all actions unto the Lord, getting rid of both hope and selfishness, and fight free from all mental fever. How complete this technique is will be evident now to all students of the Gita. The term fight is to be understood here as our individual fight with circumstances in the silent battle of life. Thus, the advice is not for Arjun alone, but is meant for all men who would like to live life fully and intelligently.
All men and women both, huh? Okay.
And all men and women. I wanted to add that, but then I just wanted to read out.
Yeah, when he says men, it includes both, huh?
The advice contained in this stanza would seem to be quite unorthodox for those who have read the Vedas with a limited meaning for the term Karma Yoga.
So pretty simple but very powerful technique. That it is simple in a sense that it's simple to understand, powerful because even though we know it, it's a little bit hard to practice. But once we kind of contemplate upon this verse, we get better. As we go forward, you will see that how much relaxed we start feeling if we learn to be in the present. And that book I was talking about, Power of Now, that's what it describes, and that's why the word there, the power of now, that if you do it like this is such a powerful thing, Any question?
Yeah, I had a few comments to make.
Mm-hmm.
One, I certainly now understand Karma Yoga a lot more than what I understood superficially before.
Mm-hmm.
I did understand vaguely, but this is very, very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I really understood a lot from your example of the ambassador representing a country.
Yes, it's a beautiful.
Where you are kind of not anxious about everything because it's not you that you are dealing with, but also you are gaining so much more power because you are now representing a larger, in this case, the cause, the universe, or the self, but in your example, the country, for example.
Yes.
So that suddenly explained the whole thing to me a lot more. And also one more thing that I understood about you, Uma, personally is where in the paragraph, the purification of the motives is possible only when the mind is made to sing constantly to the divine songs, etc. It is said, actions performed in the outer world by such an individual, which I, in my mind, I was thinking of you, are no more ordinary actions, but they become expressions of the supreme will acting through that individual. So as I read that line, I was thinking of Umaji, and I was thinking that every time we tell her, oh, you are doing such a great job and you are helping us to learn, she will always say, this is Krishna doing it, Krishna doing it. And suddenly, this was the example that came into my head when I was reading these lines. Just to
No, those are very good points that you said, and it made me very happy that you understood the core of it, what they are, and that's what, all the learning that we do at Chinmaya Mission, that's what they want us to learn this way, So I'm happy that you got it exactly what Swamiji is trying to say and what I was trying to say, and that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. Anybody else wants to? Any question?
I have one comment.
Yeah, sure.
And in addition to what she said, one of the main things that attracted me towards this, because to me, is the most important point of Gita, the whole Gita. Because in order to get moksha, you need to kill your desires and have no consequences left. In other words, of your karma. So when you do in a karma mode, like this is, there is no consequence created. So your stack doesn't increase.
Mm-hmm.
Any other mode you do, there is a karma and there is a consequence. So it reduces your cycle of birth. So once you have no desires and you work in this mode, then you will exhaust your stack. And the reason you are doing that work is because that is part of your consequence of karma.
Yes.
And it's not creating another one.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the main thing,
Yeah. That analysis is just right on top, as you said. This is what it is, and that's why Swamiji explained in the first paragraph of this about exhausting your vasana and not piling up more, doing in a karma mode, and this method teaches you to do that. Because if you are doing it in a true karma yoga mode, then you are while doing the work you're training your mind, to not create rag, dvesh and things like that. So automatically cleansing ho rahi hai. And then one other example, Meeraji, I was thinking of was of a soldier, just like that ambassador example, because these examples go very well with the children also. They understand this. If a soldier goes for a war and he start thinking, oh my God, I got to fight the war, usko itna stress ho jata hai. But he thinks, I am part of this US army. I'm not alone. The entire army is behind me, and behind the entire army, whole country is there, including the president. All of a sudden, usko josh aa jata hai. He doesn't feel alone. So the moment we are like, apna socho na, individual, you sink into this low self-centered thing. But the moment you expand your mind and think of bigger and bigger, stress apne aap khatam ho jata hai, josh aa jata hai. So if somebody can think that, I'm doing this for Bhagwan, once you understand what Bhagwan is, then you get that enthusiasm to work. And even the most mundane job becomes like a great, and nobody can get away from that example of Shabri. For years she was doing jadu, but usko itna anand aata tha ki, oh, my Ram is coming, So because her mind was in Bhagwan. Or Hanumanji, that's another great example, that because he had Ram in his heart, he could all of a sudden get all the josh to do any kind of work that other people thought were totally impossible. These are examples that give us a little glimpse into it. That what is that Adhyatma Chetasa?
Would you call that bhakti also? Because
you can give it a name of bhakti, because when you say Adhyatma Chetasa,
it's involved.
Yes.
Everything, unless you do that way with the Lord's name,
yeah,
that comes, it says, a 24-hour meditation. That's how it, to me, it looks like it when you do that way.
So Adhyatma Chetasa also, you can develop it the way your mind works. If your mind is in bhakti, you can develop Adhyatma Chetasa to bhakti. For contemplation, by Jnana Yoga, you can do it. Because Jnana Yoga में क्या बोलेंगे? यही बोलेंगे ना कि there is one God which resides in everybody. अपने आप आध्यात्म चेतसा हो गए. And then if you go, Karma Yoga, or कोई बोलते हैं ना कि everything dedicated to God. So अपने आप आध्यात्म चेतसा हो गए. Whichever angle you look at, you can pick your path, but make it adhyatma chetasa. That's what he's talking about.
Also, bhakti, still you have to do karma anyway. You cannot get rid of karma.
Yeah, nobody can get rid of karma. True.
Yeah. So even if you are bhakt, you just do in this mode. That's what it is.
और भक्त हमेशा क्या बोलता है?
When you do it this way, remembering him like Hanumanji or Shabri, that's bhakti all along going on. This is like a 24-hour meditation that you are doing, and while you're working without even realizing it, But so, that's what.
One of the famous sentence of a bhakt is भगवान की मर्जी बस ठीक है. Whatever he gives me, I'm happy in that. और कुछ बुरा भी होगा भगवान की मर्जी, right? He surrender हो जाता है उसका.
Right.
So अध्यात्म चेतसा automatically हो गई फिर.
Yes.
Surrender से. So whichever way you look at, see, that's why Krishna Bhagwan, when he uses his word, Adhyatma Chetasa is a word that you can reach through many different paths.
And another way to look at it is that when you say bhakti, God has taken you over when you are doing this work. So the self becomes the God.
Yes.
And that's the ultimate, because that's what it is. That is consciousness.
Yeah, you become the instrument.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what, and like...
Body is the instrument.
Yeah, there is a word in Sanskrit called nimitta matra. We are nimitta matra. So it's like, and even this most famous context in this Bhagavad Gita is that Krishna Bhagwan revealed to him in chapter 11 that these people are already dead. Means future दिखा दिया उसको. Because he said the karmas have killed them anyway. अगर तू नहीं मारेगा तो कोई और मारेगा. मरना तो इनको है ही. because इनके पाप का घड़ा भर चुका है. So he just making Arjun the instrument because he was at the place that he could himself spiritually evolve while doing this. So that's why he gave him that chance. So what Bhagwan is saying over here, whatever your duty is, while doing that, you can spiritually evolve. So that's the take-home message for all of us, in this. So some good points came out. Anybody else has any? Because I was going to do just this verse because this was such a heavy verse and we can, more contemplate upon it and all that. But it's a very beautiful verse. You can, if you don't mind making some marks in your Bhagavad Gita, put a nice star on it. That hey, you already done it. Yes, because whenever this is a great verse to contemplate upon. Read it again and again and see, am I doing this work this way? And once we practice it, it becomes so good. Like, you will really, in true means, we will enjoy life. Yeah, क्या दिखा रहे हो आप, मीरा जी? I can hear you.
या मैं ये दिखा रही हूँ कि बिगिनिंग ऑफ द बुक फर्स्ट पेज पे मैंने लिख दिया है श्लोक 30 is backbone of chapter 3.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm looking at it again, I'll know exactly where to go quickly.
Yeah. So, because I think that this verse is like they have summarized the entire karma yoga so beautifully. Yes, Vandana, go ahead.
So one simple comment. So in order to achieve the Adhyatma Chetata, Chetata, the three principles that you mentioned, Niragri, Nirmama, Vigata Jwala.
No, Vigata Jwara, not Jwala. Jwara is, like you are Maharashtrian, right? They say no, Jwara Jhala. Means ये हो गया, क्या बोलते हैं? Fever आ गया. So ये mental fever बोला है.
Okay.
When you get too excited, you get heated up. बोलते ना, मेरे को headache हो गया. Headache कहाँ से आता है? सर heated हो जाता है, तभी आता है headache.
So these three principles are to be inculcated in us in order to achieve the Adhyatma Chetata in that pleasant surroundings, or however each of us finds to achieve the Adhyatma Chetata, right?
Okay, it's Adhyatma Chetasa, like so, like S.
Okay.
Adhyatma Chetasa, okay? Chetasa word came from Chetan, like, conscious of that principle of self or consciousness. So I think that these are like, they help each other. If we live in the present, we are developing the Adhyatma Chetasa. And if you have the Adhyatma Chetasa, those three things become easier. So it's like a complementary to each other, Whichever way you catch it, it's good, But this is the whole picture you can do simultaneously, And then how they already gave the idea how we can develop Adhyatma Chetasa, which we are already doing, by studying Bhagavad Gita and being more aware. Now that we know this, next time, another way to do it is when we get very stressed now, go back and read this verse and see that why am I getting stressed? That means I'm thinking too much of the past and too much of the future. If you live in the present, there is no stress. That's what it is. So those are the way we can kind of come back to it. It's not easy thing to do, but it's like if you continuously aware of this thing and practice, it gets better and better and better. And then one day, hopefully, practice becomes natural. It's just like, okay, I gotta learn how to ride the bike. And once I ride it, then after 10 years also it is in my head, how to ride the bike. That's what it becomes like. It becomes like a second nature. But in the beginning, we have to constantly churn this verse in our head. Anybody else has any comment?
One more.
Yeah.
Not to complicate, but you use this word so good. Adhyatma Chetasa.
Chetasa.
But there are two things in it. One is Adhyatma and the other is being Chetan. So you could be in the present and not connected to Adhyatma, and then you may be doing something which you shouldn't be doing. So the idea is when you connect to Adhyatma, then it reminds me of that song, Ram ke darbar mein sab karmon ka khata, means no matter what you do, he knows and he keeps track of you.
True.
So you are aware that whatever you are doing, he is aware of it. So you will do the right
You
thing.
better do it right. Yes, very good
Yeah.
point. Yes. Because that's the purpose of Adhyatma Chetasa. It's like the ambassador, okay? If tomorrow he forgets that he's there for a United States ambassador, then he will start doing some idiotic stuff. But if he knows, hey, I'm representing that United, I better behave myself. So then he will automatically keep on track, because it's the responsibility he feels in his heart. And even for us, we come from a culture, family values are very much, we have to uphold them. And when we are growing up, so they are, they will say it in a different way. What neighbors kya sochenge, It's basically the same idea that, behave properly. And that, teenagers को थोड़ा क्या बोलते हैं, अंकुश रहता है उन लोग के ऊपर उस जमाने में. आजकल तो कुछ नहीं है, बिकॉज कोई कह रहा था कि वहां पर ना कोई एक काम गड़बड़ करेगा ना, तो वो माँ भी थप्पड़ मारेगी, नेबर भी मारेगा थप्पड़, बिकॉज उसको अथॉरिटी दी है कि भाई, या नेबर आके चुगली भी करेगा कि तुम्हारा बेटा ये कर रहा है, तुम्हारी बेटी वो कर रही है, तो सब लोग डर डर के रहते हैं. I better behave myself. I'm just giving a simple example. But if you're saying, okay, like Joy is saying, God is watching, you're not going to steal and hurt somebody and things like that, because I'm under watch. Vandana is smiling because she's from my neighborhood, so she knows that all the neighbors knew each other over there. Okay, so I'm going to stop here unless somebody has anything more, and then we'll go to our...
You think of it, it's really your own Atma.
Yes.
And that's where accumulating.
So
and
true.
that's going to be always with you, So wherever you are, there is nobody else, no other Ram but yours within that's watching you. And
Yes.
I have seen that often. And then I said, who is watching? And then you for a second, you realize it. It's you, yours within. And then you stop. And then, okay.
So
it's
true.
nobody-
Yeah.
Even if I'm eating a candy by myself, it's like, okay, I haven't given to Sushil Ji maybe, or asked him, and I'm watching and I'm thinking, okay, I'm eating by myself, nothing. Even that sort of gets me, okay, am I doing something wrong there? Without even asking it. So it itself pricks you.
Yes, absolutely true, because everybody has a Bhagwan in them. So you're conscious. That's why in English language they say, no, my conscience doesn't allow me. That's
Right.
exactly what it means. But what happens is we drown out that conscious and we start justifying. When we are, कोई खराब काम करता है, चोरी करता है, छोटा मोटा भी होएगा, conscious हमेशा prick करेगा, like you said. But we drown it out. We don't listen. So like Swamiji used to say, God is sitting on your shoulder, telling you, hey, what to do, but you don't want to listen to him. तो अपनी म्यूजिक बजाते रहते हो, तो वो then God says, okay, मैं तो बैठा हूँ, सुनना है तो सुनो, नहीं तो अपना करो, भुगतो, बोलते हैं ना, भुगतो जाके. So
also we go through many stages of development ourselves, and to me what you mentioned, that is the highest stage. In other words, it's beyond the bhakti, because now it has moved to you yourself, and so God is within you and you become God.
Yep.
And that is the highest you can.
And that's what actually they mean by Adhyatma Chetasa, and that's why I even gave that example, that you can have the external murti outside and all that, but when they're talking about Adhyatma Chetasa, they're not just talking about, Bhagwan somewhere in the mandir or something, no, it is that self in you.
You.
And the self in you is self in everyone.
Right.
And that's why they have this theory that when somebody is in tune with that self, because self is common among all, that's why it permeates the peace permeates to others. बोलते हैं ना कि किसी सेल्फ रियलाइज सेंट की तुम सानिध्य में बैठोगे तो यू ऑल्सो स्टार्ट फीलिंग पीस. It's
Vibes.
because of that. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to Upanishad. So we did 2 verses. We'll just do the Om Sahana Bhavatu again. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So we did the first 2 verses, and then again I wanted to remind you that the Upanishad also is a very few words they use, and some of the things, you may not be able to justify everything. That's not the whole purpose, and they leave a lot of thing. You can call it to your imagination or your own understanding, and that's why we need saints and sages to properly decode this. Because if you just read like that, you will have all kinds of questions. Aisa kaise hua, So as we go progress, you will see. And right now we are at a stage they're just telling you the background. We have not even gone in the main subject yet. Main subject will start when Nachiketa start asking question to Yamaraj. Abhi wo sirf bata rahe hain, aur wo basically here in these few verses, what they are projecting is how he was a right patra to get this Brahma Vidya. Because remember I told you about all those things that I sent in WhatsApp, Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutvam, and then there were Shat Sampatti mein Shraddha, Sattve Shama Dhamma Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhan and all that. He was only 9 years old or whatever, between 5 and 10. He had, from his childhood, he had so many qualities already. So these first few verses kind of express his quality and how he's thinking, So he's teaching us how to be a good student, basically. That's what it is. So the background was that his father was doing a yagna, jisme technically you are supposed to donate everything, and somebody might say, oh, how can you just donate everything? So there are several ways. Okay, basically it's like distributing. And when you say donate, it's not like he can keep certain part for his son also. Hey, मैं अपने householder is supposed to be, जैसे एक householder होता है ना, man may be earning or a woman may be earning, but you share it with the family, correct? And then in our shastras, they say out of those 4 ashram, they call it, brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and the vriddha. They say grahastha ashram people are the most important ones because they support the other 3 ashrams. They are the ones who support the students when they are in college, then they support the all the gurus and all that, because वो donation से ही चलता है सब कुछ. And obviously sannyas का वो हो गया, and vanaprastha का भी they are supporting. So the grahastha ashram is without grahastha ashram, society cannot function. How important it is, the grahastha ashram. So so when we say about he was supposed to give everything, you don't have to technically think कि वो सब बैठ के और एकदम वो भिखारी बन गया. No, not like that. Whatever his part was to give, that's how you think it that way. Okay, apna part, a big good chunk he has to give because he's particularly doing this. And then basically what happened when he was giving away I told you about that he was giving the cows, and the cows were not in good condition. And when this कोई जैसे बच्चे लोग ऑब्जर्व करते हैं, जो बच्चे बड़े संवेदनशील और ऐसे होते हैं ना, उनको देखो चुपचाप कोने में वो सब कुछ देखते हैं, एंड बाद में हम लोग बोलते हैं, oh, this person knew everything. Don't we say for some of your grandchildren or our own children when they were young, वो ऐसे चुपचाप बैठा था, पर उसने सब सुना, because they'll come and ask you question afterwards about it. You may be thinking, oh, he's in his own world playing with something. No, he was listening everything. Same thing over here. So like one of Tejo Menon ji was saying that अगर यज्ञ चल रहा है तो कोई ऑर्डिनरी बच्चा होता ना, तो अपना खाता पीता खेलता दूसरे क्या बोलते हैं दूसरे बच्चों के साथ और मजा करता. यज्ञ उसको क्या पड़ी है कि फादर क्या दे रहा है, Magar he was like Viveki and Vairagi type of kid, okay? So that's why he observed. And jab usne observe kiya, then the poor guy does not know what to say. Sometimes the kids understand the concept but don't know how to verbalize it. And you know, sometimes when they say something, then you have to read between the lines what they are saying, you know. So just keep those kind of thing in mind. So basically when we saw that how the filial anxiety came into his heart, that he have to save my father, he's doing some terrible act over here which is going to lead to some bad results. So it showed his maturity, it showed his shraddha in the shastras, because whatever this fellow was doing with the injunction of shastra, that isko aise yagya karo to iska ye phal milega, you know. So, and the other point that we had discussed last time was that, hey, the father had a desire in his heart, and the moment the desire kind of taints your understanding. So desire से उसका जो क्या बोलते हैं उसमें ना negativity आ गई, and then you know and the other point we had learned that with the time, as the time goes by, the puja and all, everything start getting more and more corrupted. Pandits get corrupted, and the people who are doing it ऐਵੇਂ ही करते जा रहे हैं बस, you know, without understanding and all that. That point also Swamiji brought over there. Okay, so now the next verse, verse 3, is telling you the condition of the cows. So they have, Swamiji said that they have used very little words over here, but it has a big import behind the whole thing. So whoever has the book, look at verse 3. And I think this verse can be chanted like the Bhagavad Gita. Pidotaka jagatrishna dukta doha nirindriyaha ananda namate lokan tan sagachati tadadat. So pitodaka, the cows that have drunk water for the last time. Jagat Trishna is eaten grass for the last time. And you can see that whoever has the book, how they have put the parentheses for the last time, because according to this word, all is saying eaten grass, and they stopped. But that's not what it means. In this Upanishad, it means eaten grass for the last time. ये बूढ़ी हो चुकी थी एकदम. बूढ़ी क्या मतलब मरना सन जिसको बोलते हैं, मरने वाली थी. You know, okay. And dugdha dohaha have yielded all their milk. जितना भी कोटा उनको देना था सब खत्म हो चुका था उनका, and are now too old to yield anymore. Nirindriyaha, barren. So indriya बोलते हैं ना, nirindriya means without indriya. So you can have double meaning. One is barren, means they cannot produce children anymore, and also कोई lame, कोई अंधी, कोई ऐसे टांग टूटी हुई, means one of the organ of action was not working properly, you know. Nirindriya, that's what it means. Okay, here I have to mute here 1 second. Yeah. All right, so that is Nirindriya. Everybody please check their mute and unmute. Ananda is joyless. So this is where he's thinking that he will reach a joyless world if he does this act. Nama is verily, te is loka. Sorry, what am I saying? Te is those. Loka is the world. We know, bolte na falana lok. You know, swarga lok. So that means the different worlds. Joyless world means you can call it hell, जहाँ पर कोई आनंद नहीं है. Because कोई भी स्वर्ग की कामना करता है means he always thinks of nice food, nice this, everything goody is swarg. So he's going to go to a place which is unswarg like. You know, Tan is them, he, Sa is he, Gachati goes, Ta is them, and Dadat is present. So now, you know, these words Pitotaka, Jagatrishna and Dugdha Doha means, you know, last drop of water, as though it's very symbolic. You know, उसके बाद पीने लायक भी नहीं, जैसे कोई बहुत वृद्ध हो जाता है, खा पी नहीं सकता है, basically that's what he's trying to say. And जितना कोटा घास का खाना था खा लिया, अब और खा भी नहीं सकते, दूध नहीं दे सकते, निरेंद्रिया. And let's see, some point here. Yeah, I think the point Tejomayananji said was he was giving away these cows. In any case, it was a bad act. He said कि कोई सोचेगा कि अच्छा उसने बोला कि सब कुछ देना है, सब कुछ देना है, तो इसका मतलब बैड भी दिया, गुड भी दिया. बट वन ऑफ द इंटरप्रिटेशन कुड बी कि ही हैड अ सन नचिकेता, तो अच्छी अच्छी गाय तो अपने बेटे के लिए रख ली और वो बुरा बुरा उसको दे दिया. लाइक देयर इज वन, एक जोक है, आई डोंट नो आप लोगों ने सुना है, कि एक आदमी मूंगफली खा रहा था, तो किसी ने आके बोला कि यू शुड शेयर, नॉट ईट जस्ट योर सेल्फ. तो उसने बोला ओके ओके आई शेयर. तो उसने वो फली खुद रख दी और छिलका उसको दे दिया. दिस इज शेयरिंग. I thought that's what this is showing you, कि अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ें अपने लिए रख ली और बुरी चीज़ें उसके लिए दे दी. So anyway, so that's basically it's telling you just that. It's saying that the person who is giving such present is going to have sorrow in his life in the future. So let's read now. Anybody has any question about this? Comment? Add a point? Who wants to read? I saw Geeta and I saw Shireen. Shireen, you can read, and Geeta, you can read the next one. Yeah. Go ahead, Shireen. I can't hear you. You have to unmute.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, about those gifts, I think it's a sin to give something that you don't like.
Yeah, I think that's the point. That
I tell my kids, if you don't like it, don't give it.
True. And sometimes, you have to look at the other person. What do they like? Whatever, if you know it, that's what they like, that's a great gift to give. They will appreciate it so much.
But to give something that you don't like, I say that's no for me.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I think it's a sin. Okay, so here we go. Here, those cows have drunk water for the last time, eaten grass for the last time, have yielded all their milk and are barren. Joyless verily are the worlds which he attains, who give these dakshina presents in yajna.
Yeah, जैसे यज्ञ में बोलते हैं ना, कुछ अनुष्ठान करो तो फिर you have to give the pandit some gift and all that. So he's saying in the yajna, if you give something which is like this, then it is, you're going to go to, like you said, creating sin means what? Sorrow. That's what sin means, that your sorrow is coming.
Stanza is an example of the masterly poetry employed in this Upanishad to bring forth the song of the soul. The deft handling of the words to yield the maximum efficiency out of a few but glorious chosen words is nowhere so clear as in this stanza, where the four epithets describing the cows that were given away as presents together give the reader a full picture of their sad lot. Cows that would no more drink water now would eat any more grass, so that naturally they shall not be of any use to us, even as much as for a ball of cow dung. Again, they are so old. Again, they are so old that they would give no milk, and many of them were barren and probably lame too. The stanza at this same time is not a mere wasteful indulgence merely for the word play. Shruti never indulges in over-talking. Minimum words and maximum suggestiveness is the style of Upanishads. In this stanza too, beside the poetry of it all, there is a definite purpose accomplished, namely throwing one more shade and stroke into the picture of Nachiketa. That the boy of 9 years was able to quote the Shastras and say that the performance of sacrifices would become stingy and miserly in their gifts to the priest would reach joyless worlds. Clearly shows that Nachiketa was not an illiterate, but on the other hand was a student well versed in the text of the Shastras.
So like we discussed that Nachiketa was not an ordinary student. he was, he knew the Shastras and he had a faith in Shastra. That's another very, very important thing. That, like Swamiji was explaining, Tejomayanandji, that how he had a faith in the life after death, कि कुछ है वहाँ पे, because all these things that he's thinking of, it's not of this world. कि अगर वो स्वर्ग की कामना कर रहा था, that means he thinks कि there is a future for him after he dies and things like that. And all that is coming from the Shastras, because we have not gone there, we don't know. But we have faith, and we discuss so detailed what is Shraddha. Boy already had it. Okay. So now the next verse is, anybody has any question on this? It's pretty simple, right? So next, what happens in the story is that he goes to his father and he says, who you are going to give me? Now let's see where this is coming from. So उसको लगा कि अभी father का तो गड़बड़ होने वाला है. He's doing this. Somewhere some noises are coming. Maybe Shireen, you have to put it on mute
Oh
now.
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. No problem. Yeah. So he's thinking कि अगर उसको ये पता था कि भाई ये वाला जो विश्वजीत यज्ञ है उसमें सब कुछ दान दिया जाता है. And because he was such a devoted son, he said कि मैं भी तो मेरे फादर को ही बिलोंग करता हूँ, तो मे बी अगर वो मुझे किसी को दे देंगे तो उनको थोड़ा पुण्य मिलेगा. I'm just saying that how children think in their own ways how to do something. He's not completely mature yet, but so he's thinking, वो जाके instead of doing all that, and then the other point that Tejomayanandji brought this point, and I think Swamiji brings this one point in there too, that वैसे फादर नहीं दे सकता बेटे को, because okay, मेरा बेटा है, but I cannot give him. But अगर खुद बेटा ऑफर करे तो, then it's okay. Like, I don't want to go somewhere and just किसी को भेजना हो कहीं पे, okay? And the father doesn't feel like he has a right to order the son, hey, go and do this, but the son himself comes and says, I want to go there and help this person. Then it becomes easier for the father to send him. You see that point I'm trying to bring? Or say in the worldly sense, किसी ने बोला कभी की friend ने बोला, if you really need me, please call me. Even in midnight you can call me. No problem. I'm there for you. And if you actually have an emergency on midnight, you will not hesitate that much to call that person. उसने already बोल दिया है. You might hesitate to do other people. That's where his psychology is coming from. He's going and offering himself. अरे मुझे ही दान कर दो तो थोड़ा पुण्य मिल जाएगा. Something like that the thinking was. So he goes and says to his father, आप मुझे किसको देंगे? तो ऐसे कोई बच्चा बोलता है ना, तो फिर what is the first reaction? You just ignore him. Second time he says, you get a little annoyed. And फिर बोलता है, आप मुझे किसको देंगे? तो उसको थोड़ा गुस्सा आ गया होगा, तो उसने बोला होगा, shut up, be quiet, चुप बैठ जाओ. We tell that to the kid. फिर भी वो, because the filial anxiety was there, तीसरी बार उसने पूछा. फिर तो father को गुस्सा आ गया. And he said, it's equivalent to like, go to hell. Equivalent to that is like, I give you to death. Okay? That's what the father के मुंह से निकल गया गुस्से में. Obviously the father didn't mean it. But that's what happened in the story, that he's going there and saying that 3 times he said it. And father got annoyed and said, I give you to death. That's what the next verse is. So here is the verse. Sa hovach pitram tata kasmai mam dasya siti dvitiyam trutiyam tam hovach mrutve tva dadamiti. Saha is he, uvache he said, pitram is unto, sire means apne father ko, tat means O father, kasmai to whom, ma me, dasyati iti will you give, dvitiyam for the second time he said it, tritiyam the third time he said it, tam to him, he said it to him, ha uvacha tab usne bola, matlab father ne bola, mrutyave unto death, tvam the dami, I give, iti thus. So that's what happened. Okay? So let's see. Geeta ji, you want to read, right? Go ahead.
He said unto his sire, Father, to whom will thou give me? He said this again and again for the third time, when the enraged father said, Unto death do I give thee. Through the trellis of the chiseled words of this Upanishad, no reader can afford to look for and miss the vivid picture of the home of Gautam, with his courtyard crowded by the hundreds of priests assembled there to receive presents. The melancholy team of cows is being led in, and the father is busy distributing them to the Ritviks, priests who officiate in yajnas. In the veranda of the house, there stands the child Nachiket, visibly upset with his own confusions within. He is anxious that his father, who is performing the yajna with desire, Ushan, should attain its fulfillment. But in his knowledge of the Shastras, he knows that the sacrifice called Vishwajit would be fully potent only when the performer sacrifices everything that he possesses.
So there's another point over here, because as a child he had learned that the Vishwajit Yagya you have to give everything. That's why there's another reason. मैं भी तो अपने father की property हूँ, ऐसा ख्याल उसके मन में आया. Go ahead.
But somehow, due to some sense of attachment and delusory feeling of proprietorship, the old man has decided to make small compromise between injunctions of the Shastras and his own ego-prompted impulses. In this inner conflict of Vajashravas, so clearly indicated by his external actions, Nachiketa reads a sure tragedy in store for the father in future.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The young boy, overcome by his sense of duty towards his father, walks up to the old man, who is busily engaged in the distribution of the cows, and inquires of him, Father, to whom wilt thou give me? The yajna performed being Vishwajit, the performer is bound to give away in charity all that he owns as his own. Naturally, the son approaches the father, offering himself as a happy sacrifice. Certainly, no father has a right to give away his son without his consent, merely to gain for himself a greater realm of experience. After all, as an individual with independent life, the son has a right to demand his own privileges as the son of his father. Nachiketa, in this offering himself to his father, is surrendering his individual rights at the altar of his greater duties towards his parent. Or maybe it was an intelligent hint suggesting a volume of criticism at the father's suicidal miserliness, exhibited so shamelessly at a moment of challenge in his life.
So there are two ways you can look at it. One is he's offering himself, and another one is by saying that he's making him aware of it. Because sometimes kids can do that. They have some idea, but they present it in a different way so that you start thinking, "Acha, aise soch raha hai ye." You know, they can be pretty clever too. So you can both ways. You can think it, but the result is the same. That he was doing some wrong action, and son is aware of it, and he's trying to make the father aware of it.
The old Brahman, though intellectually a great master of the scriptures, is in no sense of the term a saint or a sage who has transcended the misty realm of self-confusing thoughts and self-debasing temptations. Were he a saint, he would not have stooped to conduct this very yajna by desire. Usam. There is in him evidently a terrible sense of attachment even to his wealth. Naturally, Nachiketa fears that his father may not sacrifice his only son under the cloak of assumed righteousness and the high-sounding ideology in that no father has the right over his son's life to sacrifice it for fulfilling his own personal ambitions.
Go ahead.
You need not consider this as a very far-fetched interpretation. Human mind is capable of even greater self-deceptions. When a challenge comes in life, we yield to the temptation, knowing fully well that we have fallen from the heights of perfections, which we have chosen to follow. And in all such cases, our mind is a faithful ally to sabotage us from within, and always provides us with irrefutable, goblet-like, monstrous falsehoods to justify our own lapses.
I know it sounds very complicated. Basically, all he's saying is that when the temptations come to us, we compromise and we justify it. And if you go back to Bhagavad Gita, Arjun had come there to fight, and when he saw थोड़ा उसमें ये हो गया ना क्या बोलते हैं मोह आ गया उसमें, he started looking at them, then he started justifying. So here he's giving these old cows, some deep inside he kind of knows कि it is wrong, but oh no चलता है कोई बात नहीं, you know, that kind of thing. That's what he's saying. We also do those kind of things. Huh?
To the old man, the young boy's insistence was unbearable. At first, the father ignored the repetition. Probably the old man might have scolded the boy and ordered him shut up. But on repeating for the third time, in sheer despair and disgust at the nuisance, the father in a harmless curse burst out, "Unto death do I give thee." Certainly, we shall not understand the words to have any real significance in the mouth of the father. It was only an outburst of his annoyance at the priggish son. A Brahmin who cannot give in dakshina anything more useful than useless, old and barren cows, cannot be expected to have the large heart and the true spirit of charity to offer his own son as an oblation to Lord Death.
So यही बोल रहे हैं कि भाई गुस्से में ही बोला obviously. That is pretty obvious that he didn't actually mean it, because इतना वो कंजूस था तो अपने बेटे को थोड़ी दे देगा डेथ को, पर गुस्सा आ गया उसको. जैसे हिंदी में भी जब माओ को गुस्सा आता तब बोलते मर जाके, like you know, they don't mean that go die, but बहुत गुस्सा आता है तो we heard those words sometimes, you know. So that's what it is, and we'll see now next time that how maturely he reacts to this comment. Any other child would have started crying and burst out with tears and screaming and all. He didn't do all that. He went and started contemplating, because he's a special child over here. So we'll see that next time. Any question, comment on this particular thing? प्रेम जी, आपको कुछ कहना है? No? Okay. Anybody? Okay. So we can close the class here, and then we can stay back for some time for any other discussion. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.